Ever notice how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with? That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Welcome to the show. I'm sick of talking about the gays. But we got to deal with them because they don't give up. It's just the way it is. And speaking of the gays, they're at it again in California. There was a bill voted on yesterday up in Sacramento, California, SB 323, and it's aimed at forcing the Boy Scouts and other youth organizations to embrace homosexuality and gender identity. There's no end to what these people are trying to do, I have to tell you. Brad Dacus is with me. He is president of the Pacific Justice Institute, which defends religious liberties and parental rights. The Justice Institute handled more cases on the West Coast than any other organization of its kind. To be honest with you, if it wasn't for the Pacific Justice Institute, California would already be underwater. Brad, good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Oh, great. Thanks. It's great to get a program. Thank you.
I really appreciate you being here. Before we get into this SB 323, every day now there's something that the homosexuals and their supporters are trying to change from good to bad, from good to evil. Are we in your organization, are you having an effect for the good? Are you stopping a lot of this stuff from happening?
Oh, we are. We are definitely. There's a reason I haven't moved to Texas, and I'm still in California. For example, other than the weather, and that is, for example, SB 1172. Jesse, as you know, is legislation that became law in California that prohibits anyone under the age of 18 from getting any counseling from anyone that in any way steers them away from same-sex attraction, even if the teenager wants it, parents want it, psychiatrist wants it for them. And so we at Pacific Justice Institute went into federal court, and we were able to get a federal judge with a 38-page letter opinion to grant us a preliminary injunction against its enforcement on behalf of the plaintiffs we represented. That's now going to oral argument on April 17th. So I appreciate people to think about us and or pray about it for us at that time.
Also, they can help by donating to your organization too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We are overwhelmed with our casework right now.
Yeah.
Partly because of new laws like this, and we greatly appreciate those who like to become part of our team. All donations are tax deductible, and we reward those who support us by keeping them updated with our cases through our emails that we send out about all of our cases as they come out.
And I urge the people to donate to your organization. How can they do that?
It's real easy. They simply go to pacificjustice.org. That's simply pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org.
Yeah, we'll give that out again before you leave. Tell us about SB 323.
Yeah, this is really unbelievably outrageous. As many people know, the Boy Scouts have been challenged in the past regarding their moral policies, jumped up to uphold their standards, to oppose sexual conduct, prior outside of marriage, and that includes homosexuality and homosexual behavior, and for their members, but also their leadership. And the courts, the state Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, they've upheld that. But because what these activists couldn't have gained in the courts, they've gone to the legislature now through SB 323, which would strip the state tax-exempt status of virtually every youth-based organization in the state of California, including the Boy Scouts, the 4-H Club, Special Olympics, potentially a Young Life, Youth for Christ, strip all of them their tax-exempt status unless they're willing to forego their beliefs, their convictions, and purpose, and hire, get this, and hire leaders, youth leaders for the youth, who may be transvestite, transsexual, or openly espousing homosexual.
Amazing.
And that's totally outrageous, because when you look at the Boy Scouts, I used to be a Boy Scout, and it's a critical time in your life when you're transitioning from boyhood to manhood. Male role models are important. Male bonding is very important in a very constructive way to affirm masculinity, to affirm manhood, not to bring greater confusion or temptation away from manhood and only and gender identity. So this is a direct affront to this critical role that the Boy Scouts play, particularly to many who don't have a dad or grandfather, and many, of course, also in the inner cities who face that plight as well.
Yeah. The Senate voted on this yesterday. Is it 5-2 vote on yesterday?
Yeah, the state Senate Finance Committee voted 5-2, not 5-4, not 5-3, 5-2, to approve this and send it on to the next committee, and then it'll go to the state Senate as a whole. And I hate to say this, but because of the heavy Democrat majority in the state Senate as well as the state Assembly, this legislation will likely pass both the state Senate and the state Assembly, and at the very least get a majority, if not the supermajority that it may need.
We know there are no Republicans in the Senate anymore, right? What, 1 or 2?
Well, there's more than 1 or 2, but it might as well just be 1 or 2, because if the Democrats have a supermajority, they can pass virtually anything they want. There's 1 or 2 vacancies that have opened up that it is believed by many that those will be filled potentially before this comes to a final vote. That they still may have that supermajority to tax and spend as much as to tax and tax as much as they wish. And it's argued, at least we're arguing, that to remove a state tax-exempt status from an organization is effectively a taxing maneuver, because they will have to pay tax on all donations.
Wow.
And donations will no longer be tax deductible. So it's a major, it's a huge blow. And the only organizations that will be strong and healthy will be those in California, those youth organizations that are openly promoting and homosexuality and transvestitism, transsexuality. That is what the majority, that's what the Democrats in the state Senate and the state Assembly are pushing. And I stress that because, as you know, Jesse, so many of the constituents who vote for Democrats have no idea of the depravity that, in the eyes of many at least, that they support. And in the eyes of a parent looking at their welfare of their son or their daughter, this should be a major issue, irrespective of their political affiliation. This is not a conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat thing. This is something of just basic common sense and love and humanity for youth and their proper development.
The homosexuals and liberals are always complaining that we are trying to infringe on their rights, but in reality, it's the other way around. They're just taking this thing from one step to another one, to where they'll be in control of everything after a while.
Oh, you're right. And make no mistake, Jesse, if this passes, and I know you're probably thinking this right now as I'm saying it, but if this passes, the next legislation will be not just for nonprofit youth organizations like Young Life and Youth for Christ and the Boy Scouts. The next facet will be all nonprofits, including churches and synagogues and others.
Yeah.
They want to control and snuff out and silence anyone and anything that does not affirmatively support and affirm what they do with their bodies and their relationships even though it's totally against. They have the freedom to do that. I don't say they should. They have that liberty.
They can do
it. They
it.
want to do that. Yeah, they can do that, but they want to do it in a way that also snuffs out the ability for anyone in any way to believe differently and to speak differently. And that is an atrocious violation of the First Amendment and true civil rights.
Let me take a quick break. 888-775-3773. Brad Dacus is with me. He's with the Pacific Justice Institute, and they have been fighting to protect religious liberties and parental rights in California. They're leading the way in this, and it's just one thing after another. We're talking about yet another bill, SB 323. And this bill is aimed at forcing the Boy Scouts and other youth organizations to embrace homosexuality and gender identity. And I really urge you folks to support this organization because, I mean, there's something going on here in California every day. And just never, ever, ever, they don't quit. The homosexuals don't give up. Brad, I was talking to some people last night about this brand new bill, and a lot of people in this state don't even know that these things are happening. The word is not getting out to enough people.
Well, I know, and it's a shame, and people can actually help in this regard in a major way. If they go to our website, pacificjustice.org, they can sign up to get our press releases, and then they can actually forward that on to people on their list. Maybe it's to their pastor or their rabbi or their priest. They can also pass it on to organization leaders, groups, and they can also work to get other people to sign on to get our press releases as well. People receive these press releases. They will have accurate, immediate information, not a lot of hype and that kind of stuff, just accurate, straightforward, immediate information that they can use and be confident in, and can pass on to others that can awake them and cause them to become a voice as well. Unless people speak up, legislators won't listen, and we know that from past experience. In fact, there's a separate website we've created just for this effort to attack this kind of legislation. It's called genderinsanity.com, genderinsanity.com, and they can also get there through our website at pacificjustice.org as well. But there's a petition there and other things that people can use as a resource.
God forbid, but if SB 323 should pass, is there something else we can do to overturn it, or is it just done?
Well, we at the Pacific Justice Institute, you can be most assured, just as we did with SB 1172 when it became law, we will be looking at all and utilizing all the judicial remedies, the judicial branch that we can muster to stop it. But needless to say, I do not want to have to be in that position to have to rely on, a judge in the Ninth Circuit to agree with us. I would much rather stop at the legislative level. The Ninth Circuit is not that predictably reliable in terms of common sense and basic constitutional rights of nonprofit groups.
I do want to repeat that this bill would take away the tax-exempt status of all nonprofit youth organizations in California. And I also want to add that once that is done, God forbid, if it is done, they're going to go after the churches and other nonprofit organizations as well. So it's just not going to stop with the Boy Scouts or the youth groups.
Right. And the same reasons they give to force the Boy Scouts or Youth for Christ or Young Life to have to do this, or Athletes in Action to have to do this, it's the same arguments they'll give against the churches and the synagogues.
Yeah.
The exact same arguments. So they have no respect for religious freedom, no respect for freedom of association, no respect for the dignity of individuals to have their morals and beliefs and convictions that are contrary to their radical agenda. and they'll push this until everyone and anyone is silenced and completely snuffed out of the debate as to this very controversial, unhealthy, lifestyles and sex acts that they perform under the guise of this organization and movement. And I'm just sort of being point blank about it because that's what this is all about.
That's right.
It's about individuals and pushing and promoting and defending sex acts that people who believe in natural marriage and the laws of nature and traditional beliefs and values would find morally objectionable, and at the very least should be able to voice and express those moral objections, and at the very least raise their children in accordance with their moral convictions.
That's right.
That is, yeah.
The Supreme Court is considering Proposition, was it 8 or 18, where in California we voted that a marriage is between one man, one woman, and they're going to make their announcement in June or sometime this summer. What do you predict will happen with that case?
I was going into it but being much more optimistic that we had the 5 votes for both Proposition 8 and the Defense of Marriage Act. But Jesse, I'm really concerned. Based on the oral arguments and some information that I've received from behind the scenes, I'm very, very concerned that the outcome will not be one that respects the integrity of the voters of California and the ability for us not to be trumped by a governor or like Jerry Brown or a state attorney general. I'm very concerned about that, the integrity of the Democratic Republican process, and much less just the fact that Proposition 8 could be completely snuffed out and forced and crammed down the throats of every Californian, whether we like it or not, to quote the former mayor of San Francisco.
I have up on my website, bondinfo.org, steps that people can take to combat this bill, SB 323. What do you recommend that the people do at this point?
Well, I recommend them to go to our website, or they can connect directly to genderinsanity.com, genderinsanity.com, and there they can get the information to do petitions, to register with petitions information, and to have that sent directly to the legislators who need to receive it. Also, I personally, I love to speak to groups. I do even guest speak at churches, guest preach at churches, all without charge, and I'm open to doing that as much as I need to, up and down the state of California as necessary. So if people would like to go ahead and use my resources in that regard to try to educate and inspire their groups or their members or congregation, I'd be more than happy to do that as well. We all need to, bottom line, we all need to get involved. At the end of the day, it's not the results that I think that we're held accountable for. It's whether we were faithful with what we've been given, and whether we speak up when the bell's tolled. And the bell is clearly tolling on behalf of our youth. We need to speak up.
It's amazing, Brad, and thank God for your organization and what you're doing, because in all honesty, if it wasn't for Pacific Justice Institute, I think it would be over with. I think the fight would absolutely be done already. So I really encourage the people to donate to your organization and also pray for it and make phone calls and get involved. Thank you for what you're doing, Brad.
Oh, thank you, Jesse. I really appreciate you and your fantastic radio program. It's a real blessing, and thank you very much.
All right, buddy. God bless you, and we'll talk again soon.
You got it. Likewise. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Right now. 888-77-JESSE. Back in a moment.